Welcome to the podcast, Let the Prophets Speak. Today we continue our study of Sefer Mishlei, the book of Proverbs, chapter 24. We are up to verse 19. And at the end of the last podcast, in verses 17 and 18, we learned of B'nefol oyivcha al tismach. Do not be happy over the destruction of your enemies, right? Uvikashlo al yogel libecha, and do not rejoice when he trips up, when he makes mistakes, when he falls, when he fails. Because if God sees that, if God sees that, God will see what kind of a person you are, a person that exalts in other people's suffering, exalts in other people's failures. Ve'shiv me'alav apo, and that might result in his fortunes turning around. In other words, by exulting over his destruction, you're actually facilitating his later success, and he's your enemy, right? And it will end in, of course, your destruction. So how is one, therefore, to react when one's enemy fails, right? What does one do if, what's the appropriate approach? So that's what we're starting with today in verse 19. Al tischar b'mereim. The proper approach when looking at people that are evil, people that seem to be successful, right, is al tischar, which means do not fret, do not be upset when they're successful. Because al tekanei bersham, do not be jealous of those that are evil. Why? Ki lo sihiyeh achris lo ra. You need to realize and remember the way the world works, the way God created the world. In the end of the story, the person who lives an evil, dishonest life, a selfish life, he will not have achris, he will not have a future, he will not have an end, he will not have a good place where he's going, whether that's understood as a place in the world to come or the place in this world, but his future is nothing, his future is zero. Lo tiyeh, it doesn't exist. His future is zero. Ner risha'im yidach, the flame of the rasha, the flame of the evil person, though it might be burning and it looks like it's burning nice and bright now, yidach, it is going to be put out. It is going to be extinguished. It will not last. Instead, what should you do? Yira es Adonai b'ni, be in awe of God, v'melech, and be in awe of the king. In other words, and this, when it says king here, it's referring to this justice, basic human justice, which is represented in Mishlei several times. We learned by a just king, right? Be careful to do the right thing, both the right thing in front of man, what is known to be just in society, and what is known to be just before God. Im shonim al tisarav. Don't mix yourself with hypocrites. A shoneh is a person who's constantly changing, is a hypocrite. What he said yesterday suited him yesterday. Today something new suits him, so he says something new, right? Constantly changing his principles to adjust to what he thinks he needs now. That's a shoneh. Don't mix yourself up with people that are shonim. Yesterday what was important today is suddenly not important. Yesterday what was not important today is important. Yesterday, we know who hypocrites are. Al tisarav, don't mix up with them. Stick with God, stick with justice. You don't exult over the failure of your enemies. That's someone who is sticking with God is doing it for the right purposes, doing it for himself. Why? Ki pisom yakum edam. Their time, the day when their destruction, when their end will come, will happen suddenly. It's not something that you're going to necessarily see, know, understand, or be able to predict, but it will happen. Don't worry, right? So don't spend your time worrying about them. And who could possibly know the potential destruction? The fid here means the destruction or the doom of both of them, meaning those who stay away from worshiping God, those who stay away from being honest and just and proper before God, and those who stay away from being honest and just and proper before human beings, right? And the just social system of human beings. Miodea, who knows? So therefore, be careful, live a proper life, live a just life, a legal life, a life in front of God, a life of humility, a life devoid of selfishness. Those that choose the path of selfishness, pisom yakum edom, their time will come. That's not your problem. Don't worry about that. In verse 20, we're about to study verse 23 now together. In verse 23, we see it's kind of like another section. It's really part of this section, right? Because it's a continuation. If we're about to read, Gam eila lachachamim. These words that I'm about to say are also words of the wise. So if you remember, last chapter we began what was really a new section of Mishlei, of Proverbs, right? So this is it's like an appendix to the section that we're in the middle of. The style of the speech changes a little bit. It changes into more of a storytelling, more of a prose-like style. But it's attached to this section that we're in right now. So Gam Eila Lachachamim, and of course in the Masoretic text, in the Jewish traditional text, this is the beginning of a new parsha, a new paragraph, or a new chapter, which makes sense because it's like another portion of this section. It's a separate section. In the modern numbers that we have, the chapter numbers, which were added by Christians many centuries later, this probably should be a new parak, and in the ancient Jewish traditional text, it is a new chapter. But because the modern numbers have become so ubiquitous and have become accepted, and the way everyone references the verses of the Bible, so we use them, even though the traditional way is, in my humble opinion, a lot better. But anyway, Gam Eila Lachachamim Hakerfonim. These also, the following words that I'm about to say, are also words of the wise. Haker, and what do they discuss? Hakerfonim b'mishpat bal tov, right? That being maker fanim, lahakir fanim, meaning to be partial in judgment, to recognize a person when you're judging someone, to look at him and say, oh, he is the greatest guy, he is the rich guy, he is the smart guy, so therefore I'm going to be partial to him, he must be right. Oh, that guy, oh, he's such a loser, I'm going to be not good to him. Or vice versa. Any kind of partiality and injustice, Bal Tov, is not good, period. Omer lo rasha tzaddik asha, because someone who says to the one who is guilty, you are innocent. Now, this is really a crucial point here, right? When a person is maker fanim, when a person is partial in judgment, he or she, the judge, thinks that they're doing it because of popularity, right? They're doing it because they want to be on the side of the people who are being successful. They want to say the right thing. And you'll see as we go through the next few verses how important this understanding of these verses is, right? And ultimately, when you do it, you think you're being popular, right? But in the end, what's going to be, Yikvuhu amim, the nations are going to curse you, Yizamuhu le'umim, the people of all of the nations of the world are going to abuse you and curse you, right? Because, in other words, you were going after popularity because you thought you were doing what everyone wants you to do instead of doing what was truly right. And in the end, what you lose is in popularity. Those that you thought were going to praise you, a judge who judges based on mob rule, based on what everyone wants him or her to do. And you look in the newspapers, everyone is saying, convict the guy, or oh, he's innocent, or so on and so forth. And you do it because of haker fanim, because of partiality, but not because of the honest truth. In the end, you're not even going to have popularity. But if you do it the right thing, v'lamochichim yin'am, right? For those who are mochiach, those who look for the who are willing to criticize those that are guilty, even if they're popular, even if they're famous, even if they're powerful, but the judge is willing to say, I'm sorry, you are wrong, yin'am, in the end, it will be sweet with him. While he does it, it is very difficult. The person is popular, the person is well known, the person has a lot of power, the person has a lot of wealth, whatever it is that makes this person special in the eyes of the public, right? To go ahead and be mochiach and criticize him or her, right, in this situation is difficult. You're going against the grain, you're going against the popularity, but yin in the end, it will be sweet for you, right? Maybe the news, maybe the TikTok videos, maybe the social media is going to scream and yell and say how terrible you are for criticizing the guy, taking this big man off his pedestal. But for you, you'll be able to go to sleep at night and realize that you did the right thing. It will be sweet for you. Va'alehem tavo birchas tov. And upon those people who are willing to do the right thing, in the end, blessings of good will come to him. Sifasayim yishok meshiv dvarim nechochim. When someone, and I'm going to go with Rashi here, there's different ways to understand this verse, but Rashi understands this verse. Someone who is meshiv dvarim nechochim, someone who speaks what is proper and says the truth, no matter, regardless of the popularity, sifasayim yishok, he is worthy of a kiss. And a kiss is something private, is a way one person communicates a love and affection for another. It's between one person and another. A kiss, by definition, is between one and another. It's not the popular thing. It's not the thing that everyone is talking about, and all of the, the reels on social media and YouTube are talking about. But it's between one person, and it's a real human connection between one and another, and that is what you gain when you are willing to be the mochiach, willing to be the one who speaks, as they say nowadays, truth to power, right? Regardless of how powerful and how popular someone is, you're ready to be mochiach, you're ready to speak truth. Yinam, to you it is sweet, and you are worthy of that special kiss, that kiss from God, the special kiss from those few who are willing to stick with the truth. Hachein bachutz, and then this last, it's not a last verse, but last verse in this small paragraph here, going, of course, again with the Masoretic divisions, is an advice to life. Hachein bachutz melachtecha. When you go out to life, first you need to prepare your work outside. Before you can sit inside your house and enjoy the peace and quiet of a home and a family, you need to have a job. You need to have a melachtecha. You need to have a skill, right? Ve'atedah basadalach. And get ready in your field what you need for yourself to live. And then achar, and then after that, uvanisa veisecha, you can build your home. Don't think I'm going to get married, I'm going to build a family, and then I'll figure out how to support it. No. Hachein bachutzma. First, you have to prepare things that are outside. You need to get yourself together. You need to get your field together. You need to get your field growing. And if I'm translating this pasuk exactly as the Metzudos and most others commentaries translate it. It's a very clear lesson in life, which seems obvious, but unfortunately many people don't get it. Verse 28, Al tehi eid chinam b'reacha. Don't bear false witness against your friend. Actually, this doesn't really mean false witness. This means witness for nothing. For nothing means with no evidence. So sometimes we might think, we know that guy's a bad guy. We know he's guilty. We don't like him. He did all kinds of bad things to me. So I'm going to bear witness against him, even though I don't have any evidence, because I know that he's guilty. Now, he may or may not be guilty. But the verse is telling you, if you're an eid chinam, if you are free of evidence against the person, right? And you don't have firsthand knowledge about this thing, don't be a witness and testify. And this is so true today when people are so quick to talk about things that they don't know about because they read someone or they saw something, and then they go and they repeat it without any firsthand knowledge of the event. Vahafitisa bisvasecha. And if you did that, would it be a good thing for you to convince other people with your lips? So you're acting to convince people, and you're stating and talking about things about which you have no first-hand knowledge. Out eid chinam b'reacha. Don't start yapping as if you know what you're talking about when you don't. Maybe you're right, but maybe you're not. Don't be that eid chinam. Al tomar. And what's usually the motivation behind someone who does that? Because you feel wronged by that person for some reason from the past. Maybe rightly, maybe wrongly, who knows. But Al Tomar, don't say, Kasher asali kein esalo. Just like he did to me, I know he's a bad guy because I know what he did to me. So therefore, I'm going to do it to him. I'm going to speak badly about him. If you don't know anything, keep your mouth shut. Right? And don't say, Ashiv lo ish kipalo, I'm going to be the one who gives him what he deserves. That's not your job to give people what they deserve. That's God's job. Leave that to him. Now, if you actually know evidence and you've seen something, okay, then it's your role to bear witness. But if you don't know anything firsthand, keep your mouth shut. Verse 30. Al sedei ish atzel avarti. The next several verses which end this chapter are very famous. Very basic advice that's timeless advice. I've passed by the field that was owned by a person who was lazy. V'al kerem adam chasar leiv, and I've passed by the vineyard of a person who doesn't care, a person who is chasar leiv, who's missing concern and care, and he doesn't care about his things, and he doesn't take care of them. He's just lazy. And what did I see? What did it look like? Ola chulo kim shonim. It had thorns growing all over the place. Kasufanav charulim. Its surface was covered up with weeds. It was full. There was weeds all over the place. V'geder avonav neherasa, and his fence around it, his stone fence that he had built around his field, was crumbling and falling apart. Va'echazeh anochi. And I saw this, and oshisli bi, and I thought about it, and oshisli bi, like a good translation is I took it to heart. I thought about it. I and learned lessons from this, or isi lakachti musar. I learned from this, and I learned a lesson from this. Ma'at shenos, ma'at tenumos. When you're lying in bed and you think, oh, I'm going to sleep a little more, I'm going to rest a little more. Ma'at chibuk yadayim lishkav. A little bit more, I'm going to hug myself in my bed. Right? I don't need to get up and do it today. I can do it tomorrow. I don't need to do it this week. I can do it next week. This kind of behavior ends in thorns and weeds and broken down walls. That person will get nowhere. Uva misalech reishacha, and what's going to happen in the end? Your poverty is going to grow upon you. Umachsorcha, and the things that you're missing in life, the things that you don't have, the needs that aren't being filled, ki'ish magain, are going to happen like, literally that means like a man with a shield. Now, what does this mean, a man with a shield? It means an armed man, like a soldier, like a war. Just everything is going okay, and then all of a sudden someone comes with the gun and takes it away. And that's what's going to happen. The field that you have that you're not taking care of, the house that you're not taking care of, it's going to be taken away from you if you're lazy and if you don't put in the work necessary. And of course, this is a metaphor, of course, for farmers, but of course for anyone that does anything. If you're going to be the guy who doesn't come into the office early in the morning and doesn't volunteer to do the projects that need to be done and doesn't step up to the plate when things need to be done, and when you see problems, you just ignore them and don't fix them. In the end, you're not getting into the corner office. That's just not the way it's going to be. Anyway, thank you so much for participating and for listening and for studying with me chapter 24. And I look forward to studying together with you chapter 25 and the rest of this beautiful book. I wish all of you a wonderful, wonderful day. If anyone has comments, please feel free to comment on any of the public forums out there. Or you can email me directly at weinrebsaul, that's WEINREBSAUL @gmail.com. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.